Hey everyone, it's Mike here, and welcome to my live stream where it's me, Mike from Laughingstock Media. How's it going? Coming to you here from Las Vegas, Nevada. A very popular tourist attraction in which a number of different people come here on a very regular basis, I suppose. I've never been here before until today, but nonetheless, I am here and I am now talking to you live on stream. What a shock, right? Me talking on a live stream? It's not like I've done that recently, right? So basically, what we're going to be doing is I'm just going to be, hanging out here, interacting with you guys a little bit, and maybe talking a little bit about what I did during my trip thus far. And I guess any other questions or topics that come up along the way, you know how this is. I will just probably talk about X, Y, Z, and then every other alphabet and letters out there if given the opportunity or if it pops in my head. So with that being said, what I'm going to do right now is talk a little bit about that. So, basically, thus far, I've been here since Monday, and it's really interesting so far. I visited all of the different areas of the strip, I suppose, the different casinos, hotels, everything along those lines. And thus far, they're pretty interesting. They're really well constructed, at least, visually appearing. Who knows quite how they did everything else. Furthermore, there's really interesting architecture when it comes to the interiors. Like for example, I was at the Venetian yesterday, I believe, and just the way that it's constructed. Same thing with Caesar's, or really I should say Kaisar's palace. Awe, true to Kaisar. But in terms of all of that, it's really well constructed, put together, really interesting, and I do really enjoy, the way that everything is set up with that atmosphere, with the way that they make the interiors of these locations appear like exteriors. So that's really interesting. You look up and you see a blue sky, but it's not really a blue sky, of course. It's, paint on a wall, basically, on the ceiling. So either way, yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about another thing is that there's some really interesting locations here. A lot of people just assume that Vegas is all about gambling, and I mean, I am staying in a casino right now. Maybe I'll be able to show you guys what it looks like outside my window. In a little bit. I was gonna do like a live stream just on my phone where I was gonna like walk through the casino and all that stuff, but the internet definitely isn't as capable in that regard as I was expecting. But I did take a number of different pictures, some of which I put on my Instagram. So, for example, I just went to the Avengers exhibit, the kind of Marvel themed exhibit, where they have a number of different items that are really interesting, such as the different suits that all of the actors wore in the films. I'm guessing that they're recreations that are kind of one to one in that sense, so that's really cool. Additionally, there's, big props like Captain America's motorcycle, which was really cool to see. And, I actually got to sit on it and take some pictures, which I just put on my Instagram. Not my LSM Instagram, the other one I have, which I don't recall what the hashtag for that is, or the handle. I sound like a boomer right now. I think it's the real MW. I'm probably following it on my own Laughingstock Media account, so you could just, I guess, check that out there. But nonetheless, it was a really cool experience. I also tried to lift my own year, but unfortunately, I'm not worthy, so I wasn't able to do that. But either way, for somebody who's a huge fan of Marvel and the MCU and everything like I am, despite the fact that I was a little critical of it during my live stream last time, but that's because I'm a huge fan and I really love and appreciate this franchise. And, I was able to go there and see those props and, kind of experience them hands on. And that's something I've always really liked. Let me look at the chat real quick too while I'm rambling. Hi, Anthony, Mario, Cynthia, Garda Trace. How are you all doing today? It's going pretty interesting for sure. I know I keep saying the word interesting. It's kind of like when I say, or like, or all the various different things I say along the lines of those, including that right there. Because I am also very self observant of what I say. But with that being said, I don't encourage anyone to have a drinking game around those different words I use, because the fact that you probably would be, suffering from alcohol poisoning within about 1 or 2 minutes of my my discussion or whatever have you. So yeah, that's another thing that was really cool. I guess in terms of what I would rank the hotels I've experienced thus far, the number one for me is probably the Venetian. I do really like that one, followed by Kaisar's Palace, and then of course, you know, uh, Treasure Island's pretty cool, I suppose, in terms of the exterior and some of the other things that are here. That's also where the Avengers exhibit is, which is definitely worth checking out. And that's kind of the thing with Vegas. There's a lot of really interesting things to check out and to, experience firsthand. It's not all about gambling and drinking, even though there's plenty of that going on, trust me, there, among other things. But nonetheless, when it comes down to the experience in Vegas, it's definitely an interesting tourist location. I think that people would really enjoy if this is your kind of thing. So I'd recommend it to pretty much everyone. And there is my semi review of Las Vegas. Although I didn't really get into the cons, and you guys always love when I talk about cons. So, number one, it's way too hot here. Number two, a lot of people are passed out on the side of the road, or in elevators or in the middle of the street. Number three, people will just run you over in the middle of the street if you're crossing, the crosswalks, even when it's your turn to go. And of course, number three A is also that the crosswalks take like 10 minutes for them just to turn, I would say green, but they're usually white here. So I don't know what's up with that. Number 3B, there is a lot of walking around here. And then, if you don't like cardio, well, Harold definitely doesn't. He hates when it kills his gains, but I've walked like 20 something miles in the past couple days, which I didn't necessarily think I was capable of. And Harold's going to hate me for that because, there goes all my gains and the muscles to do a Harold impression. Because I'm totally not the dude who voices Harold, trust me. Additionally, another thing is that Las Vegas is pretty far away from where I live on the East Coast, I'll just say. I mean, I've probably said in videos where I live anyway in the past, so I don't really care about that. But, it was an interesting flight and, wasn't the best for the first half or so, let's say. Uh, but nonetheless, the second half was fine, and you know, fortunately, it wasn't too terrible to kind of basically just fly over here for about 5 hours. Although fortunately, we got here pretty quick too, so it definitely wasn't 5 overall. I'm not sure I really care for this camera angle either. Let me nitpick my own live stream in the process. Now I don't like that one either. There we go. Nope. Almost. Nope. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that. But yeah, what does the MW in your Instagram handle stand for? Mike Wazowski? No. My last name is Warren. And let's see. Son John. Yeah, thank you. Guess I'm glad to be back at the moment. This has been a really cool revival or return, let's just say, of my channel thus far. Definitely different than it was before. But nonetheless, I'm taking things in a different direction as I discussed in my first live stream back and then the video clip I made. Maybe I'll clip something from this, maybe I'll clip something from my last stream. I haven't really had access to my video editing software on this computer. So I wouldn't quite be able to do that at the moment, but maybe when I get back home. Did I sleep when flying? No, I can't sleep when flying. I can't really sleep well in general. Like I was up basically for, I slept for like 2 or 3 hours out of 48 for the first 2 days, and that was on top of walking 20 miles. So I was pretty tired, but, I'm not the best sleeper, I guess if we want to put it that way. I am, somebody who is basically a born insomniac and have been since I was a kid. So, like, doing YouTube, especially like years ago, I would stay up just basically all night, every single night, and I would, go to sleep when the sun was coming up or a little bit after that, and if I slept at all, because I was working on videos all the time. And then, additionally, after that, I would wake up in like the mid afternoon. I was basically having like the vampire calendar when I was, doing YouTube as often as I was doing it back then, working on videos super in depth. So yeah, it was definitely a different schedule than I kind of live nowadays, I guess I could put it. What video software do I use? The video editing one, rather. I use the Adobe Suite. So in terms of that, I use Adobe Premiere as my main video editing software. My main audio editing software is Adobe Audition. So I record my videos in there, edit the audio, basically put it through a number of different processes along the way. It's a really in-depth process, actually. It's, eventually after doing so much audio editing, rather, it basically starts to feel like I'm looking at the Matrix code. If you have any familiarity with how Adobe Audition works and the green lines and everything like that, it's a little, I don't know, disorienting at some point, if that's the word I'm trying to use here. Sure, someone will correct me. I'm not sure what the Pokies is. Jermaine, is that in reference to Pokemon? Because I've already been hooked on that since I was a kid when the games first came out. I'm not sure what the Tupac scene is you're referring to. I do like Tupac. He's one of the greatest rappers of all time. But I don't quite think I've been to any Tupac exhibit or anything since I've been here. Do I collect manga, and are you anime only? No, I do have manga. The thing is that manga, for the most part, for me, is something that I kind of have to read physically, in large part because I have migraines. So, basically, it makes it difficult for me to read manga on a recurring basis digitally because when I use my phone, it basically just turns my migraines up even more. And when I look at it, even on my computer screen, well, then there's a blaring white light in my eyes the entire time. Maybe if they made, I don't know, black and white manga inverted, where it was like black backdrops and then white lines, but you know. It's always been a little difficult for me to read in that regard, but in the future, maybe I'll just buy the manga for all of my favorite series or the ones I'm interested in. But that definitely adds up price wise. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that. Oh, Pokies is. Oh, New Zealand slang? Oh, cool. I'm guessing that's what NZ means here. I wonder what time is it there actually right now, Jermaine? Do you think Baki made Ghost Mafia do it? I wish I could tell you I've seen Baki. I've been waiting to see the original series, but I haven't found any good quality versions in the original Japanese. I mean, I would buy the series on Blu-ray if I think I don't think it exists, so I would do that. Maybe just watch at my house. It seems like a really cool anime. Hopefully it's not buffering too bad here. The internet's not amazing. Uh, Been watching since 2016. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone who watches my videos, I appreciate it, even if you don't always agree with me. Because the fact that at the end of the day, I'm just sitting here talking in a room by myself, and the fact that people are watching me speaking basically to myself is definitely a very funny experience. But no, obviously, I'm talking to all of you, and I appreciate you showing up to watch this stream about me rambling about Las Vegas and other topics along the way. that you guys may bring up. Do I prefer seinen or shonen anime more? I feel like I lean more seinen. I mean, I watch tons of shonen, obviously. You know, my main anime I talked about for years on this channel was Dragon Ball. I still talk about from time to time, obviously. But I do really like when the shonen dips into seinen. So whether it's Yu Yu Hakusho, Hunter x Hunter, JoJo, I've always preferred that more mature, darker type of story. And that's not even just applying to anime. Like, you know, my own stories I write tend to be very dark. You know, the stories that I tend to gravitate toward oftentimes go in really dark directions. It doesn't mean that it completely consumes everything, but nonetheless, I do really like it. And I do, you know, really wish that I don't know, maybe Dragon Ball would dip a little bit more into that again. I mean, basically, a lot of people have said in the past that Future Trunks is almost like a seinen main character. And let me know if I'm still live. I am seeing something that says no data on here. I'm not entirely sure if that means I'm not live anymore. It's saying I'm live on my end, though. Mike's ability is Insomnia. Darkrai doesn't stand a chance against him. Yeah. I mean, I do like Darkrai as a Pokemon, but he's never really been one of my favorites either. I guess, you know, he's the cool dark type and everything. But, you know, like out of dark types, I don't know. I always thought that Sableye and Spiritomb were cool because, at least initially, they didn't have any weakness. Oh, also, I guess my favorite dark type and maybe my favorite Pokemon in general is Umbreon. I love Umbreon, and you guys can see that just by my phone screen background. Also, my favorite superhero, if you even want to count him as one, because people always like to fight that, is Batman. You know, I don't really think that superhero necessarily has to mean they have superpowers because, you know, Iron Man's a superhero, but then again, there have been different versions of Iron Man throughout the years, like the Extremis one, where he does have powers like psychically, you know. Well, not psychically, like he uses nanotechnology and the Extremis to make it where he has a mental connection to technology. Yeah, so seinen is anime and manga targeted toward adult men, which, you know, at the end of the day, myself and a number of others, which is not grammatically correct, so a lot of my friends and I, we tend to like more adult anime, I suppose. You know, when my friends Alex, he introduced me to Berserk about, I don't know, almost 20 years ago, and I loved it ever since. You know, that 90s anime for me is just so great, and I really want to read the manga. Like, I was going to buy those big volumes when they came out, uh, you know, but then after the creator, I wish I was better with the names. After he passed away, unfortunately, a lot of them just went out of stock everywhere. The price really got inflated, which, you know, always tends to happen with artists when they pass away. You know, their art goes up in value because they know that there's not going to be anything new, and, you know, it's going to not necessarily fluctuate the market as much as it did prior, and a lot of those other factors that go into it. So, Kentaro Himura? I feel like I'm close. Or Miura, there you go. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that horribly because it is me, but yeah, Umbreon is awesome. Which which generation is Hydreigon from? Is he from Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield? Because those are the only generations I haven't played thus far, and it's a really long story as to why. I'm sure I'll play them at some point. I go back and play old games all the time, you know. A lot of my favorite games are on the N64, the Super Nintendo, or the PS1. So I have all those consoles that are still working. I keep them in the best condition I can, so I can just go and play them for fun. Gen 5, is that black and white? Or is that... No, I think that's black and white, right? Because I definitely played black and white. Okay, perfect. If I remember correctly, there is also was it Volcanrava, the legendary fire and insect that actually has an evolved form, which I think is just awesome. Probably one of my favorite newer Pokemon. I think it was like 10 years ago that the series or that generation came out. So I do really love that Pokemon. I really like, what is it, Hariyama. I thought he was really cool too. A lot of the Pokemon from that generation are cool. I wasn't necessarily, I don't know, with some of the starters though, I wasn't necessarily as into them. A lot of them just kind of felt like copies and pastes from Gen 3, which is one of my favorite generations. So like the Infernape is a lot like Blaziken, even though, I mean, an ape that has fiery powers is still cool. I don't even remember what the grass one is. That was the one I picked initially in my first playthrough. It just kind of felt like a lesser's, not Sceptile. Is Sceptile the third one? I believe so. And then, again, Emporion. I believe that's what it's called. Empoleon, the steel and water type, and quite like as much as Mudkip's evolved form. But then again, Swampert was always my least favorite from that. That was the game that broke my trend of going toward the water types. Blastoise was my favorite starter from Generation 1. Uh, then Feraligatr is so awesome, just like a water, alligator that goes in like a weird caveman direction. I'm not quite sure what they were thinking there, but that's really awesome. And yeah, I'm definitely going to get Scarlet and Violet. I'm looking forward to that. I still want to play the other games first, but I played Pokemon Arceus, which I'm never going to pronounce it Arceus because I don't care that in English countries Arce means something totally different than here. But nonetheless, I thought that game was awesome and is actually one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time, which I definitely wasn't expecting. You know how it is with me with a lot of these franchises now. I've become jaded by some of the poor decision making that they've exhibited over the course of these years. But nonetheless, I really loved Pokemon Arceus, even with all the different changes. And it's cool that the new game seems to be more in line with that because. Aside from Pokemon being real and me just giving up my career and just everything to become a Pokemon master, that's pretty close to it. So I do really enjoy that game. I'm not sure what the popular opinion is because I don't really pay attention to a lot of that. But what do you guys think? Do you like Pokemon Arceus? And also, let me know what your favorite generation is too. Shed some water. That's another negative I'll throw in here about the whole Las Vegas area, at least the strip, is they don't really have many places you can go to just fill up your water bottle for free. So, like, you have to just spend money to get water. You have to go to like CVS or whatever. And I mean, fortunately, it's not too expensive, but, for me, I'm very conscious about the value of a dollar. So, I would say that, I don't really like to spend extra money on things like water when I don't need to. It's like Nam at the 21st tournament. Oh, by the way, Nam, water is free, so you don't have to like win a tournament just to get it for your family. Also, here's a capsule. That'd be some cool technology to have too. Uh, you look like you listen to country music. I think that you're judging me incorrectly by my appearance. Not quite as big of a fan of country music as a lot of my friends. I do really like metal though, which I have even done like metal concert reviews in the past, and that's my favorite genre. Up there with rock and electronic, and I like some rap and so, like I like a lot. If a song, how about I just speak correctly? Take two. If a song or a band has a certain kind of technicality to them or has an interesting rhythm or beat behind their music, I'm going to, gravitate toward them. I mean, obviously, my taste is going to be different than a lot of other people, but I do love metal music, and maybe in the future I'll even have my own band and make music videos and put them up on this channel. I think that'd be cool. I at one point was considering maybe doing like a music video cover of Amon Amarth's Way of Vikings, but then changing it to the Way of Saiyans. And just doing like, I'd be doing the vocals and I play the guitar a little bit. So maybe I do rhythm guitar, bring in like a real guitarist, not like me, obviously. And also bring in, like a drummer and stuff like that. I think that'd be really awesome. And then like edit the video to where it would be, showing the Ozaru like transformation, and Goku and Vegeta, like they're like the best friends who are fighting like enemies, and things like that. I think would be really cool to compare and contrast the vocals in the song with Dragon Ball. But instead of it would be like for the Viking training, it's the Way of Vikings. It'd be more along the lines of for the Saiyan training, it's the Way of Saiyans and the Way of the Super Saiyans. So yeah, there's a little insight in one of the videos I've been thinking about really since I left. Not that I really was planning to put it into action, but that's the thing nowadays. Since I'm being more experimental with this channel, I can just have fun with it and just upload a freaking metal music video one day. And if you guys like metal, definitely check out Amon Amarth. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. Also, Mastodon. Definitely check out Mastodon because their new album is awesome, and just them in general. There was a guy that did that when Pokemon Go came out and quit his job to be a Pokemon master. If they were real, I could definitely understand it. The economy would be so different. The entire world would be different. The world is changing. Gen 5 is objectively the best Pokemon generation, says Gardatrace. I'm sure you could make an argument about that. I don't remember if you made a video and I watched that. I've seen so many videos over the years, so forgive my terrible memory. That is probably on par with Toriyama these days. But nonetheless, my favorite generation is Gen 2. I started with the original generation, which I love, glitches and bugs and all. My my first favorite generation is the original. Second is, why can't I speak today? This is what happens when you go to Vegas and it's 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't quite remember what that'd be Celsius. I'm an American, so we didn't really learn that well in school. But Gen 2 is my favorite, Gen 1 is my second, Gen 3 is my third, and then from there, I don't know, maybe Black and White's my fourth. I don't remember if Black and White's the weird French one though. Where like everything is like French inspired. They have the Eiffel Tower and stuff. Like there were definitely certain story aspects I thought were really ridiculous, and if that was the game, it might be actually the next generation. But I remember there was like a death ray that they were trying to use, and then there was like an immortal, almost Frankenstein-looking guy that had that one Pokemon he was waiting for forever to return. I'm talking so much about Pokemon. I wish I could just show you guys my collection today, but I have it back in my house. And yes, I love Metalocalypse. That's one of my favorite adult animated series, I suppose you could say. Um, It was definitely one I really enjoyed. Unfortunately, the upload consistency, I guess you could put it, wasn't the best. There were always these delays, changing the time slot, stuff like that. Something like that happened with Yu Yu Hakusho during its original run, too. So, like, I watched and experienced the series in America on Toonami, and then Adult Swim, and, it was on weekdays, back to back with Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball and maybe even GT, and then it would shift to Saturday at one episode, and I eventually just fully finished the series after I watched it on Blu-ray. One of the things that made me the most annoyed about the Toonami schedule is the fact that like they cut it at parts, like, or they skipped over, or they shifted the time slot during like the fight, like right before Yusuke was going to fight Toguro. So, or the Japanese variant, Yusuke Urameshi in the Toguro. Remember when I did my video with Golden Scouter? Shout out to him. or I was getting stuff about, oh Mike, your pronunciation of Tagoro is inexcusable, and I'd literally just finished watching the series in Japanese, so I was using the correct versions of the names. But I love the dub of Yu Yu Hakusho, and I actually, that may be one of the few anime I prefer to watch in English. Um, Maybe Full Metal Alchemist is up there too. The dub of Full Metal Alchemist is great in both versions. It's pretty much equivalent to the Japanese. I do love, especially in Brotherhood, things like, Kimblee. The way they pronounce his name is awesome. But, I love Full Metal Alchemist, and it's definitely one of my top 10 favorite anime. I wish I could tell you. Um, what my favorite is, like in the literal order, but it changes all the time. That's why one of the reasons why I never really liked doing a lot of those favorites lists, because like when I did my favorite arcs of Yu Yu Hakusho list, that changes based upon the year, the time I'm watching it. Um, Same thing with Dragon Ball. Like, my favorite is always locked in. Like, Yu Yu Hakusho, my favorite arc is the Dark Tournament. In Dragon Ball, the entire franchise, I'll say, my favorite arc is the Cell Saga. In the original Dragon Ball series, my favorite arc is the 22nd Tournament. In the Dragon Ball GT, obviously Baby. In Dragon Ball Super, a lot of people don't like it when I count it as an arc. I mean, it has a beginning, middle, and end, and all the other stuff. But the Broly movie is probably my favorite. I wish I could say the new movie is. I've seen it twice now. Once in English, once in Japanese. The original one was in Japanese. I saw in IMAX, and that was an amazing experience. But I just think I prefer the Broly movie overall. Even though Gohan's my favorite character in Dragon Ball, Piccolo's one of my favorites too. Like, it's all about, helping them. I love the stuff with Pan and, the more familiar stuff, the slice of life aspects, as people have put it in the past. And I just prefer the Broly movie at this point. I don't know if I would say it's still my favorite movie though. Like, World's Strongest was always my favorite movie, and I haven't watched that in a little while. But a lot of that's also nostalgia, because I remember the first time I ever saw World's Strongest and Tree of Might, and or the really long, overly complicated names that Lance calls them in all of his videos. Hi, Mr. Fusion. I hope everything's going well. I still watch your videos, and I still really enjoy them. And yeah, Ghost in the Shell standalone complex had a really good dub from what I remember. I still want to watch the original language though. Same thing for the movie. I've never seen it in Japanese. A lot of series or movies I've never even gotten the chance to watch, but I don't remember if I bought it on 4K Blu-ray yet. But I really want to buy the original movie on 4K now that's out. I missed my chance to see it in theaters too. Okay, Aiden, I'm not quite sure what you mean by the Dragon Ball Z home release that's currently out. There are more than one, including the English and the Japanese variants. All the Japanese ones were actually on Netflix at one point, then Japanese Netflix. So, VPN was really helpful with that. But nowadays, I just honestly, I'm gonna wait for it to come out in 4K or at least 2K, because they have them all on film. There's no reason they can't remaster in 4K, even if it would be like a 2K upscale, because they use 16 millimeter for most of the. So I'm just gonna get into like a really big cinephile thing right here, but basically, they have explained in the past what the comparable upscaling is for certain digital resolutions and film resolutions. So, you can't even say film resolution, but you get the idea. So, for 16 millimeter, it could be upscaled to about 2K from what I remember. Depending upon the different types of processing, you can, obviously upscale a little bit more than that. And that's just without losing information. Now, there actually are Dragon Ball Z episodes as well as the movies that were made on 35 millimeter. Now, the thing is with 35 millimeter, it actually can be upscaled to 6K. So that means that, when we get those episodes and movies in 4K, that's not even going to be the maximum. They're going to be able to upscale them, beyond 6K or whatever for the 8K resolution mastery in the future. The only thing that could hold that back is the fact that, a lot of the film wasn't originally kept in the best condition. That's why when we see Dragon Ball Kai, for example, Toei reanimated certain scenes, and unfortunately, they don't look as good as the original because of that. But yeah, I'd love to see that in 4K, 8K, etc. And they definitely could do it. So I really want that, and I will, give you money, Toei, for that. I don't always give you lots of money, Shueisha and Toei, because of certain things that you've done with this franchise, but I would give you all the monies for that upscaling resolution, because I would love to watch on my 4K TV, put on the projector, and just experience it as close as possible to the way that it was intended. Well, and maybe not intended, because these things were made for like little tube TVs like back in the 80s and early 90s and stuff. But yeah, let's see. Superheroes better than Broly? I mean, you're definitely welcome to that opinion. I haven't really gone super full on Mike review mode with regard to superhero. The thing is with Broly, I've seen it many, many times now. Whereas with, and the same thing with most of the franchise. But the thing is with superhero, I've only seen it twice. I haven't had it like up on my screen, editing it frame by frame, like going full on visual literacy with it. But, in the future, I definitely intend to, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it again on home theater and seeing how the experience compares. Because seeing something in a theater versus home theater is oftentimes a totally different experience, especially in higher resolution. So please, Toei, give me a 4K restoration or whatever for that too. World's strongest guy. Is that the world's strongest? I forget exactly. I remember the BoJack movies called something like that too, or Galaxy at the Brink. The world's strongest guy, is that what it's called? Yeah, if they get lazy and use too much DNR, then it'll look off, and Toei's known to cheap out often. Yeah, I don't want DNR. I just want it to look exactly the way it's supposed to be seen. Of course, the more you upscale something with film, sometimes it can increase the grain, which a lot of people really don't like. But there are DNR settings built into TVs and projectors and stuff nowadays, so you could just have your cake and eat it too in that case. Somebody mentioned Geekdom. Is he in the chat? I didn't see him. It's hard to follow these chats sometimes because there's so many comments going on here. Let's see. Yeah, I prefer hand-drawn anime. If it was up to me and I was running the Dragon Ball franchise, I'd bring back cell animation, just have it be hand-drawn the way it used to be. There have been decades of improvement with regard to that stuff, and there's definitely passionate people out there in the animation community who would love to animate the original style and kind of show why it looks better than digital, which that's the thing. I'll go back and watch the Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and just that 90s animation, even like the 80s animation aesthetic, the stuff from Maeda, especially in the Dragon Ball and early Dragon Ball Z, just looks so great, and the movies and stuff like that too. And back when Yamamuro was a lot better, and everything didn't look like it was super shiny and like covered in a plastic film. Yeah, I remember. I mean, in Japanese, using things like "guy" and stuff in a title, I guess, works a little bit better. Have I seen Invincible? Yes, I actually did a review on this very channel about it. You could check it out. Obviously, there are certain things that I liked and disliked about the way it was not only adapted, but just put into practice. But you could definitely check that out. I also reviewed the first two seasons of Young Justice, and I loved that show up until season 3, which I actually wasn't a fan of. I don't really know what the consensus is there. I really like Vandal Savage. He's one of my favorite villains. Same thing with Darkseid. So that storyline between them was really interesting, but most of the season focusing around the outsiders themselves and just the kind of drastic shift to being really graphic in its violence and its depiction of gore and everything like that after the original 2 seasons really just kind of felt off. Same thing with the type of animation they were using. So there's a lot of things I liked about it, but it's definitely my least favorite season, and I haven't seen the season 1 or 2 after that. I don't recall how many have been released, but I have HBO Max again, so I'm sure I'll check them out because, DC animation's usually been great. Some of the movies in recent years aren't quite as good as they used to be, but my favorite DC animated movie is The Dark Knight Returns. That was great. That was like a two-parter, and then you could actually watch the full version on Blu-ray if I remember. And yeah, that one was great. Definitely worth buying and checking out. And yeah, I mean, grain is more natural because the fact that that's literally like the silver emulsion that they put into the film. Like the specks of grain are what's reflecting the light when you are projecting, onto a screen by shining a light through it. So that's, a big part of why grain works with regard to film, and it's just inherently in it. Of course, there are some benefits of having digital filmography or digital filmmaking tactics. I think one of the things I've heard in the past that is really beneficial with digital is the usage of lower light settings. Now, of course, the thing is that when it comes to film, you could often just use a different lens. So Stanley Kubrick, for example, he made a film called Barton Fink many years ago, and that he actually got a lens that was used. I think either it was created specifically for him or was used on like a special telescope and came directly from NASA. So it could definitely do it. You could definitely have low light or even fully natural lighting and make it look great in film, but there's always pluses and minuses. It depends on what you like. It's kind of like watching a TV with interpolation versus, the traditional 24 frames. Some people love that more realistic, smoother image, but at the same time, interpolation also has a lot of artifacts and issues like that because the extra inserted frames that weren't originally there. But another thing is too, like even seeing a film projected in a higher frame rate, I wasn't the biggest fan myself when I saw the Hobbit movies in 48 frames per second. I'm not like a huge 3D person either, so the combination of those wasn't necessarily the best in that regard for me. I definitely was a proponent of it before it came out. I was like, wow, this is so cool. It's innovative. I want to check this out. But then when I actually saw it, I wasn't a fan. So that's kind of just how it can be. Galaxy at the Brink, Super Incredible Guy is the name of the BoJack movie. Yeah, so they love to to title things like that. Oh, sorry, not Barton Fink. Yeah, Barry Lyndon was the one I was referring to with Stanley Kubrick. Barton Fink is a Coen Brothers movie starring John Turturro, which I also really enjoy. One of my favorite Coen Brothers films, and No Country for Old Men is great too. Maybe their best movie objectively, although my favorite Coen Brothers movie is The Big Lebowski. So I definitely love that movie too. I have that on 4K, and that movie looks. I mean, they're all shot usually by Roger Deakins, one of the best cinematographers of all time, so it looks great. Was Z Broly stronger than Super Perfect Cell? In Second Coming, I would say probably, yeah. In the original movie, there is an argument that he wasn't. Obviously, you can say, well, he blew up a galaxy. Obviously, he's like vastly more powerful than Super Perfect Cell. And then some people have said, well, he actually blew up an entire sector of the universe, the southern one. But I've done videos about this. Like, other people have done videos. At the end of the day, whatever your takeaway or opinion is, we're just providing the perspectives of the same evidence. You could say that either Broly really blew up a quarter of the universe over decades, and then you could say that he just blew up a galaxy over decades, and Toei doesn't understand how big a galaxy is, and oftentimes I view the kind of narrative intent with a lot of these movie villains is that they're actually placed in between certain villains from different arcs. So, for example, like Broly wouldn't be as powerful as like Boo or Super Boo, Gotenks Absorbed, whatever you want to say. He wouldn't be as strong as Super Saiyan 3 Goku. He wouldn't be as strong as, Janemba, or I don't quite remember how Hirudegarn scales comparative to some of those villains. Like, he is able to beat Gotenks as a Super Saiyan 3, if I recall correctly. He's able to overpower Goku as a Super Saiyan 3, but then he gets beaten by weakness exploitation. Yeah, I've seen The Sopranos, JP, at least the first three-ish seasons, and I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite HBO show. It's not my favorite show in general. That'd probably be, at least for live action, would probably be Breaking Bad, followed by Daredevil or Dark on Netflix. All of the above are like 10 out of 10, at least 9 out of 10, and definitely worth watching. Better Call Saul is pretty great too, but I haven't seen the new season yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing that when they finally put that on Netflix. Boo Saga has your favorite look aesthetically once they show. Yeah, I love the look of that. Even though you could argue that fight with Kid Buu at the end is kind of questionable. Like, why is Goku spending an entire fight punching and kicking Kid Buu, or even doing Little Blast on him when he knows he's just going to regenerate and it's pointless for him to do that? I mean, I guess it's because Toriyama thought it looked cool, so he just had him punching Buu over and over, even though that's completely pointless. But yeah. If you just blasted him one time, and then if the Z Fighters use the one thing that always helps them, which is energy sharing, like they used to beat Broly, then that fight maybe wouldn't have lasted as long. Like they do that in GT a lot too. Like they power up Goku in his Super Saiyan 4. It's like, why didn't they think to do that with Super Saiyan 3? I'm guessing because technically they wouldn't all, even all combined wouldn't have as much power as Goku unless, we put into, Gohan and Gotenks. But overall, it would not necessarily make the most sense. Yeah, I mean, the feats of power in Dragon Ball Z aren't necessarily the most consistent. Cell bragging about blowing up a solar system. Like a lot of people say, why couldn't they have done that significantly sooner? Because of the fact that obviously the solar system is only so many times bigger in terms of overall mass than blowing up a planet like, let's say, planet Vegeta or something. I mean, obviously some planets are just gigantic, like the Supreme Kai realm, which you can argue is the planet there is bigger than stars because you see all the stars surrounding it, and we don't even know what type of stars those are either. They could be the super giants, like the ones that make our star look like a little speck. So you might be able to make an argument as to why he could blow up the solar system, at that point at like his maximum power. But then again, he never actually said that that's the extent of what he could blow up. Like if you put multiple solar systems like in the same space, like there's an argument he could have destroyed all of them. But we don't really know. I mean, it's the same thing with Zamasu when he's merged Zamasu and he's saying, I'm going to destroy this entire galaxy with you in it, or whatever, when he's fighting against Vegito or Goku. And it's like, well, can't you blow up like a multiverse at this point, Zamasu? Do we really need to have you say galaxy? Did you forget that a galaxy is way smaller than what you should theoretically be capable of? I think the same thing happened with Moro too. Like he turned into the planet and then he's gonna blow up. It's like he's gonna take out this entire galaxy. It's like, can't Moro like just blast the universe and blow it up at this point? Like why is he only gonna destroy a galaxy with like his angel absorbed, earth absorbed ultimate explosion? Even so, as semi perfect, and he's gonna blow himself up. I'm gonna take out the entire Earth. Couldn't you have destroyed the solar system too, Cell? But whatever. Huh. Yeah, I haven't seen season 4 of The Sopranos yet, but I like the first three. There are definitely a lot of things I could critique about the storytelling, though, like certain anticlimaxes that happen along the way, which maybe it's just done for the sake of a twist. But I was disappointed in certain resolutions to storylines. But I do like all the acting and the direction and the influences from shows like Twin Peaks and stuff like that. Which I also really enjoyed the first season and a half of Twin Peaks. I haven't seen. Okay. I'm seeing it says excellent connection now. So let's see if it's actually going to keep working here because, this is not the best for my retention, right? Oh, it's actually working on my phone, too. That's the thing with live streaming, right? Sometimes these issues happen, and especially when I'm not using my good Wi-Fi at home. So I'm glad that it seems to be working. I had to basically restart my OBS and get everything underway. So, thanks for sticking around, guys, and let's keep going here. So I guess just ask me some new questions or something, and I'll do my best to answer them. I gambled away my bandwidth. Yeah, I like that. You'd think that for something that makes this much money, they would probably have a little bit better internet at the casino, but nonetheless, it's working right now. I am watching the replay, so maybe there is a chance that that's interfering a little bit too. But yeah, like I said, just I guess throw some questions in there, and we'll take a look and see if things should keep going from here. Yeah, I heard from Super Jane that the Australian internet isn't quite as good as in the United States. I don't really know. I've never been there. I'd really like to go in the future. It's one of my biggest destination spots. Las Vegas for me was one of my top spots. I've always wanted to go visit. And yeah, Mike should start his own internet company with blackjack and hookers. Well, I mean, maybe in Las Vegas, but then again, Las Vegas is like Fight Club, where you're not really supposed to talk about what you did here. Uh, yeah, so I guess the last thing before I got completely cut off by the interwebs is that, I was talking about Twin Peaks. There's so many comments or questions and stuff. Season 1 2 could have been 10 out of 10, but Lynch got bored of making the show, and that's why season 2 got so dragged out. For me, it wasn't really as much the dragged out nature as more of like some of the plot developments and some of the weird directions that Lynch took it in, like with was it Malcolm McDowell, the actor who played the evil ex cop or whatever, and then the whole situation with the one character with like what was it, a thing of scorpions, and the fact that nothing was resolved after season 2 with regard to a lot of characters. So yeah, there were definitely things I wasn't the biggest fan of after the first I don't know, first half of season 2. Will you make YouTube shorts with your time here? I mean, some people keep telling me to do it, like Josh from Dragon Ball Nation. He's like, Mike, make some shorts, make some shorts. It's like, I don't know, maybe maybe I'll upload them. Um, I have a lot of videos I took along the way. My videos of the Avengers exhibit, for example, and stuff. But then I feel like I'd be uploading so many shorts. I'm not entirely sure how that would work, or if I'd want to upload all these shorts. But we'll see. I don't even know what the rules are about posting some of these things online, but I'll look into it. It's not like Marvel's come after me in copyright ways before, right? Oh, you're in Brisbane. Same thing with Super J. Super J, and eats a pizza every day. And I don't know if any of you remember that. That was back when, what was it, Talk Dragon Ball with Jay and Geekdom 101. Who's my favorite villain from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul? Well, definitely Gustavo Fring. The performance by Giancarlo Esposito is great. So great, in fact, that he's basically played the same character in everything ever since then. But he really did a good job. Also as Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian. And yeah, I love Gus's character. I wish that we had gotten a whole series about Gus and like his backstory and stuff. But then again, I'm never someone who's like actively campaigning for prequels and stuff. Even though I do like Better Call Saul, I definitely think it's a really good show. No, I'm not going to go to the Grand Canyon this time. Maybe next time I come here in the future. But as of right now, I'm not going to go there. I was also going to go to some other locations from, like the Hoover Dam. And, one of my favorite games of all time is Fallout New Vegas. So I wanted to go to Good Springs, but I probably should have done that a month or two ago when they had that whole Fallout day. That would have been really cool just to see that experience. And it's also pretty far away from where I am right now. Some things aren't like right near the strip, so I'm mostly just sticking to around this general area today. But yeah, Super Jane was a YouTuber from a while back, just a friend of mine that I talk to from time to time. Maybe even we'll hang out at some point in the future, but it's kind of hard when, he lives down under in Brisbane, Australia. I don't know how good my Australian impression is, or Australian is, I know is how you guys actually pronounce it. I'm sure I butchered that too. He's doing pretty well. He actually, has some nice things going on for him in his life. I try and keep up with everyone that even used to do YouTube. Like I talk to Black and Fist from time to time. I talk to Geekdom every now and then. I talk to Josh every day. Dragon Ball Nation. He's doing well too. And some other people from time to time. I talked to Mr. Fusion a little while back. He seems like he's doing well. Talked to Totally Not Mark a little while back. I was planning to actually go to Ireland this year, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be doing it anymore. So, maybe we were going to hang out when I was there, but I'm not sure when I'm going to be going quite just yet. That's the thing in the future. If I go to some countries that you guys are from, maybe we could do some kind of meetup or something. I think that'd be cool. I was considering doing one here, but it was just kind of short notice and, you know, kind of just doing my own thing. Black and Fist or Juan is doing well. I just call him Juan. It's the thing. I know all these guys, first name basis, and I have for years. So Geekdom 101's just Danny to me. Juan is Juan. Black and Fist is Juan. Josh is Josh. Jay's Jay. So, I just know them as just friends of mine. Do I have a favorite Dragon Ball YouTuber? Obviously Harold, or else he'll crush me. But other than Harold, I don't know. In terms of quality, like in terms of content, it was probably either Black and Fist or Quaman were my favorites. Um, I do like some videos from time to time from others, but those were the two that were my favorites overall. I think MJ is really good too. MJX TV, but he's not really a Dragon Ball YouTuber anymore. I don't think so. I think he just does his own thing. But he's really talented when it comes to editing, and some videos you've seen on my channel and other channels have actually come directly from him. So, he's really good at what he does. There's a reason people pay him. Yeah, I saw the new Top Gun. I thought it was great, and I actually thought it was better than the original one. It's kind of like Blade Runner in a sense. I mean, I saw Blade Runner in theaters recently, and that was great. I don't know if I'd still say Blade Runner 2049 is, but there's definitely an argument right there in terms of whether the original is not actually as good as the sequel. I mean, you could say that about, Terminator, obviously, Aliens, and some other franchises from time to time. I guess we'll see about the new Avatar, James. I hope it's good because we've been waiting so long for this movie, and you could have made another Terminator in that time that was actually good. Along with other movies that probably would have been good. At least he's a craftsman. At least he tries and puts a ton of effort into it. So, considering how mediocre most movies are that are coming out now, maybe Avatar 2 is going to blow everyone away just because our expectations are so low. It's like in the South Park episode when James has to go and raise the bar because it's been lowered so much. So, I think we'll find out soon if the movie ever actually comes out. Guaman was my introduction to Dragon Ball community right after Goku versus Superman. Oh, from Death Battle. Yeah, that's cool. He was definitely one of my introductions. I also remember watching Vegito. I forget what the number was after his name, the guy who did the power level videos. And yeah, Lance is great. Quaman's what ifs are better than the fanfic what ifs. I definitely agree. That's the type of what ifs I've always done and have always preferred. Um, Avatar is decent. I mean, a lot of people really shit on Avatar when it came out, more mostly afterward, because most people really liked it when it came out, and I really enjoyed it when I saw it in theaters. It was a really interesting visual spectacle. I mean, it wasn't a amazing story or anything. There were some dumb things in it, like unobtainium. Like come on, you could have written that a little bit better. And also, it was basically like Pocahontas meets Ferngully with aliens, so there was that too. Dances with Wolves, a lot of people compared it to, but most stories are recycled anyway. Like Goku and Superman are recycled from the Bible in terms of like Moses and Jesus allegories and things of that nature. Am I allowed to say these things on YouTube? I guess I'll find out. And, there's a lot of like ancient mythology that current stories are based on. Like, for example, Star Wars in many ways parallels Greek tragedies, and, you know, um, there's a lot of those fascinating stories that we see that are really derived from thousands of years ago. I mean, you could just read the book Man of a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell when he goes into that and defines the hero's journey that a lot of stories follow, and going back to even stuff like Beowulf was another big one that like a lot of stories have based that on. Or used as kind of like a rough template or outline. Paradise Lost by Milton is another big one. One of my favorite overall stories that has influenced me a little bit. And then, of course, there's more contemporary modern stories like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. That's a part of the legendarium that's incredibly influential on everything, including Dragon Ball. Just look at the Goku Black arc and then compare Sauron to Zamasu. There's a lot of similarities there, and even more goth a little bit. And then you could also say the same thing for Star Wars. There's a lot of similarities, especially after these people stop revving their cars so loud. There's a lot of similarities, especially between Return of the Jedi and maybe Return of the King, but definitely Lord of the Rings in general. There's a lot of parallels you can draw there, and of course that influenced Dragon Ball and led to a lot of what we have today, especially in the anime community and just animation and a lot of stories that kind of were inspired by Dragon Ball in part. The hip new thing for contrarians is to say that T1 was always superior to T2. Yeah, I mean, I've met people who definitely prefer T1, and I can understand it to a degree. Terminator 1 is a great movie and has amazing scenes and moments, and it was done on such a low budget and yet still accomplished so much. And it's a great movie, one of my favorites. But Terminator 2 is always going to be my favorite movie. Followed by another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Predator, which I love the original, and I don't really love any of the sequels. Predators, with starring Adrian Brody and directed by Rodriguez, is really entertaining. Though the first time I saw it, I thought it was way too derivative and ridiculous at points, but after rewatching all the Predator movies recently, it's my second favorite, followed by two, and then way below those is Predator 2018. And I haven't seen Prey yet. I would like to see Prey, but I haven't gotten the chance to watch it yet. So I'll check that out and see how I feel. It's probably going to be better than the most recent Predator because that movie was terrible. And it had a lot of great actors in there, a lot of people that I like Thomas Jane. But then again, he also had a character I wasn't a fan of. I wasn't a fan of the whole autism subplot where they have to extract spinal fluid in order to like upgrade themselves, and they want to transcend the human barrier or whatever. Like that was just absurd and shows that Hollywood still doesn't understand situations like that. And it's like Mercury Rising with Bruce Willis from the early '90s, right? I think. And yeah, True Lies is really good. I mean, there's a lot of people who really like Jamie Lee Curtis. Is T2 a 10 out of 10 for you? Yeah. And the thing is that I've seen the movie more times than pretty much anyone alive. So there are definitely little things that I pick up on every single time that I wish I could go in and just improve. Like, I wish I could just re-edit. I mean, I can do this. Like, I kind of want to edit my own version of the film where certain scenes are left in, certain ones aren't. Interestingly, for the longest time, originally for the longest time, I actually liked the theatrical cut of Terminator 2 more than the extended, and there are certain things I still am not a huge fan of in the extended, like the T1000 with the whole like fusing with the metal around him after he gets shattered in the steel mill. And I prefer like the way that John Connor figures out that his mom is like the real one, because the fact that like in the theatrical, you don't see him look at like the feet. You see him figure out just by like the way that Sarah Connor interacts with him, that he is that the T1000 is right in front of him trying to lure him in so he can kill him. Although, like, a little missed opportunity I've always felt is that the T1000 never actually tried to replicate John, because there is the scene where he grabs his hook out from the car when he does that great, Homer Simpson scene where he gets on the back of the car and smashes through the back windshield, and, he's trying to kill them. They blast his hook off, and then he falls, and then, John picks it up and throws it. So he sampled him, and he could have replicated him. But maybe they want to say he's too small to replicate because he tries to do similar size, but I definitely think he could have taken advantage of that at some point in the film. Also, there are just certain things with the special effects that could be improved a little bit, like the dummy in the truck crash scene, where you could see like the dummy bouncing around inside. I don't know why James Cameron even put that in the truck. It's not like it's gonna look real, especially when you watch on the big screen like I have. And then like just little things here and there. But that scene that's in the extended cut of them doing like the whole mirror where Arnold gets his head opened up by one Linda Hamilton, and then on the other side is her twin sister who does that too. Same thing with the scene where the two Sarah Connors are together, and then also the one security guard at the mental hospital Pescadero. That was great. It's just a masterpiece of movie. It's one of the best action movies and just best movies in general. And the fact that 31 years later it's still amazing goes to show you how great it is. Yeah, I don't really like Total Recall as much as I used to. I probably would like Last Action Hero more nowadays. I wasn't a huge fan of it back in the day when I first saw it, but with Total Recall, I did rewatch it recently on 4K. It looks great. I'm not quite as into Paul Verhoeven movies as a lot of other people. I do like RoboCop though. I think that one's great. Never really liked the sequel or any of the sequels though. Even though Irvin Kershner directed the second one, I just never liked the fact that Murphy just goes back to being RoboCop basically, and kind of was like that. Yeah, the Fifth Element was really interesting. Is my internet going out again? Come on. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Garda Trace, about Jamie Lee Curtis in that movie. She was definitely very attractive, to put it one way. She's a very classy lady, except for in certain interviews, I think. But, she's a good actress, too. She did really well, My favorite horror movie of all time is Halloween, and I think that she was basically a no name when she was in that. If I remember correctly, her parents are famous, though. I'm trying to remember who her parents are. And I've definitely heard those interesting rumors about her in the past as well, but I don't quite know if they're legitimate um, in terms of that to kind of beat around the bush. So yeah, actually, now that I'm reminded of it, I actually saw two new movies the other day on the plane, and neither of them was very good, especially the first one, which was Morbius. Now, I was a little bit disappointed because I don't remember him saying it's Morbin time at all during the movie. Maybe I wasn't paying attention because I was on a plane, and I don't know. I just don't remember him saying that. But either way, the movie was pretty terrible. I at first for the first 20 to 30 minutes, I was like, "Wait, is Morbius not as bad as everyone's saying? Like it's okay so far." I know a lot of people don't like Jared Leto and so on, but then I saw the rest of the movie and basically everything after he became Morbius, and it was just really bad. I mean, it sucks too because you know Matt Smith is a pretty good actor and he's doing really well in the new Game of Thrones show from what I've seen thus far. He was good as Doctor Who from what I've heard. I've never really been a huge Doctor Who person, so I don't quite know, but you know, he just hasn't really picked his movies well in recent years. He's also in Terminator Genisys, or really Genesis, but I'm sure he was fine in that movie for the 10 seconds he was on screen. And he was supposed to basically be Palpatine in the new Star Wars, and they just, you know, butchered that movie. And it wasn't probably good to start, but people are asking for the JJ cut as if somehow that's going to be great. I mean, have you seen his Star Trek movies, or you can even argue the Force Awakens, or some other movies. And his Mission Impossible movie was pretty great, and I probably enjoy Force Awakens more than I dislike it. I mean, it's a million times better than the two movies that came afterward, but then again, which two movies am I referring to? I do recall liking Rogue One, though. I just don't think it's necessarily held up as much since I initially saw it. That's the case for a lot of movies. You enjoy the theatrical experience, but then you watch it like a few more times at home or even more, and you just a lot of the issues kind of start to stand out more. But I've gotten to the point where I've seen so many movies and shows that a lot of those things I just notice on the first viewing now. That's why I feel like a lot of people sometimes feel like I'm being unfair with my criticism about a movie I've seen one time, but you know, I've just become so accustomed to seeing these things and kind of noticing a lot of these trends that it's a lot easier for me to pick up on that on the first viewing. Which one? They meme Morbius? I don't know. I think it's just because it's just not good, and people wanted to, I don't know, crack jokes about it. Verhoeven is a smooth brain who couldn't even finish reading Starship Troopers. I mean, it wasn't French, so maybe that's why. But no, I don't recall if that was from France. I know that Planet of the Apes was originally from France. I don't know. I mean, I was just talking about seeing the Marvel exhibit earlier, so I enjoy some of that cape shit, as you put it. I would definitely say Morbius is on the lower end. It feels like a bad early 2000s comic book movie rather than, just being a bad current day movie. Definitely is some of that current day stuff in it, but it feels more like a bad 2000s one. And I wish I could say I was a big fan of Starship Troopers. I know it's a very influential movie, and I know that, a lot of people really love it, but I don't know, maybe because I just saw it too late in life, I've never really been that big into it. And no, I didn't see Bullet Train yet. I'm sure I'll see it eventually. T1 and the upgraded models are now in Call of Duty, and they use voice lines from the movie as character taunts. Yeah, that definitely seems like something that would get people to spend money on it. Not me, but I've spent money on other games in the past. Not as much as Josh, though. He loves his microtransactions. Yeah, I mean, usually that's the case. The book's typically better than the movie or the show. I mean, a lot of it comes down to the fact that when you're reading a book, you just create the entire world in your mind, and you fill in all the blanks and you do all that stuff, kind of like with animation, where we fill in the frames with our brain, where like instead of just seeing a bunch of still images back to back, we instead like have our brains kind of fill in those blanks and make it work. So same thing with the book. It just a lot of people don't really like, or they aren't accustomed, I guess, to reading to, because the fact that like it's hard for them to visualize what they're doing because so much of our mediums nowadays are visual. So it's same thing with like book on tape, right? Or one of my 57 years old book on tape. No, it's a lot like audiobooks where a lot of people don't really read, but they will listen to audiobooks. But at least with an audiobook, you could still have that type of reading experience. You're just not reading for you, it's just somebody reading it to you. So I'm sure in the future I'll do audiobooks for my books too. It's just that, I'm a million times more critical on my own work than I am of other people's work. So that's why I still haven't put it out, because I literally go through word by word, sentence by sentence in my books, and I'm like, I don't like the way I phrase that, and then I just keep rewriting it over and over because I can't, just accept that it's done and put it out. But I will eventually, hopefully this year. I don't know if I'll publish it this year. I'm going to talk to some publishers about that, but I'm definitely going to finish because I'm tired of writing it. At least the first book. I've been writing the other ones too for this period of time. So you can't really say about me when it comes time to read these things that I just am doing it by the seat of my pants. Only YouTube. BTS Butchered Staying Alive. I haven't even heard the BTS version. I do really like the original one by the Bee Gees, though. Yeah, I do really like RoboCop. That's one of those movies for me that was kind of like a forbidden movie almost when I was a teenager. I remember when it was really hard to get some of the director's cuts and extended editions. So, like, I had a friend back when I was a teenager who showed me RoboCop for the first time. It was always one of those movies I'd heard of, and he had it on either DVD or VHS in the director's cut, the way more violent version. So that was really cool to watch that as a kid. Another thing I watched, which was really great, was Ricky O, the story of Ricky. That one's great too. It's so hilariously over the top and violent. It's really similar to Dragon Ball because they use ki, they can do super powered moves, stuff like that, like no ki blasts. But, like Ricky O punches through people, somebody tries to strangle him with his own intestines. There's a guy with eyeball that he takes down and has mints in it. It's so ridiculous, but it's great. Did you see the new Cronenberg movie with Aragorn in the lead? I liked it more than Videodrome. I haven't seen that yet, but I am a fan of Viggo Mortensen. So, he's somebody that if I ever get the chance to do live action adaptations of my series, I would like to have him in there. There's a lot of actors that I plan to have in my, books or potentially movies, TV shows, and stuff that I make in the future in live action adaptations. So, there's a lot of actors I've considered using because I do really love their performances. I think it'd be great to put in there. But yeah, we'll have to see if I can get the budget for that stuff in the future. That's always been the drawback. The reason why I haven't made more movies and stuff like that is just because funding is always really difficult to get, and getting people work for free is hard too. We can't all be Shane Carruth with movies like Primer, which is a great underrated or at least underseen, basically independent sci-fi movie about time travel. That's really interesting and worth watching. Yeah, Rikio, I haven't seen or I haven't read the manga. Rikio is the unofficial live-action Dragon Ball movie. Maybe. I mean, there was the Magic Begins, which I remember seeing a little bit of, and I definitely didn't care for. And Dragon Ball Evolution. How about no? Do you think that Broly could fit something the size? Okay. I won't be reading that comment. But, I think I have the chat replay on, so I'm sure you'll be able to. Whoever's watching in the future. Yeah, I've only seen some of A History of Violence, actually. I've always wanted to finish watching that, too. Is, Ed Harris in that too? Is that the movie where he went to that press conference and he was like slamming his fist on the table? That's anger. That's violence. Because that was interesting. If you could interview Arnold, what would you ask him? I don't know. I'd ask him a lot of questions. Probably a lot of ones that he didn't cover in his book, Total Recall. The thing is, he was really open about a lot of things he did in that book, which I was pretty surprised by. So yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just ask him like behind the scenes relay questions, and also bodybuilding tips and stuff like that. I mean, I've watched a lot of those videos already, but I don't know. We'll see. I'd love to just sit down and watch a movie with that he was in with him, with James Cameron, like just watching Terminator 2 with them and having them explain little behind the scenes tidbits and basically give me their own in-person commentary would be great. I'd love to do that with a lot of directors. but that's not something I necessarily have access to. I mean, I'd love to even like sit down and watch Dragon Ball, for example, or Yu Yu Hakusho, something like that, with the creators, the animators at the time, the director, everything along those lines would be really interesting to even interview these people. I'd love to see some behind the scenes stuff that we never got either. Like one of the things I'm not sure that we've ever been given is like a behind the scenes audio based documentary about the Dragon Ball movies, not aside from like the dub, but more along the lines of things like, how do they create the sound effects? How do they do this, that, and the other? I know that they talk a little bit about that in the Daizenshu and other materials, but I'd love to actually see like a real behind the scenes thing about that. I have no idea what you're talking about. If I have a son, will you leave him out in the woods with a green guy who's stronger? I don't quite understand that question. I guess it's another dimension that's too different for me, to quote Piccolo. Have you reached out to any of the people involved in Dragon Ball? It would be cool to have them showcased on your channel. Yeah, I was just talking about that. There is a little bit of a delay here, but I'd I'd be surprised if they'd actually want to be on my channel, because I've always been very honest and open about my thoughts about the franchise, and a lot of times people like to go on channels where they're only positive. I mean, who's going to want to sit down with me and I'm going to talk to them about, what did you think about this thing here? What did you think about this thing here? Which isn't necessarily like positive, and my review or my interview wouldn't necessarily be like a puff piece or anything, right? So, like, if I ever interviewed Toriyama, I would ask him a lot of questions and I would be really respectful about it, of course, but at the same time, I would definitely ask him a lot more hard hitting questions than pretty much almost every interview he's had. Aside from maybe that one interview where that person, like, barged in on him when he was taking out his trash, and he has that iconic, like, angry, angry expression I've used in my videos many times because I really thought it was a funny picture. Video series about Harold giving the wrong advice. I have considered doing similar things like that in the past, like Dragon Ball Explained Poorly and things like that. We'll see. Oh, his question was a Dragon Ball reference, I see. So, would I have trusted my son with Piccolo? I mean, if I was dead, it's not like I'd have a choice, right? I doubt my son would really have that level of gains, but then again, he is theoretical, so I guess that means I could theoretically make him do whatever he wants, assuming that he ever exists, which doesn't seem like a likelihood at the moment. In Pumping Iron, Arnold gave the wrong advice to other competitors. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Um, like the one where he pulls a prank on that one bodybuilder, I think in Australia, where he goes to the do a posing on the stage and he like screams as loud as he can. So yeah, I remember that from Pumping Iron. I mean, the thing is, like, if I ever become like a respected novelist or whatever in the future, like, I have some sway, maybe Toriyama would want to talk to me for some reason, but I doubt it. Like, the guy is very reclusive. Maybe I could get some other people to talk to me, but I doubt that Toriyama is ever going to want to talk to me. Hey, Golden Scouter. It's going pretty well. It's really interesting thus far. I've gone to all the casinos. I have, walked around the strip. The only issue is that it's really hot, like over 110 degrees today. So that's not always the best. But yeah, I've thought it was a really cool experience thus far. And, I talked a little bit more in depth about that earlier. But overall, it is pretty cool. Need some good links for Akira Toriyama. I got a bunch of links in my description for my channel and Instagram. And also my Twitch that I never use, but maybe in the future I will. Yeah, I maybe I'll ask Danny because he always talks to Toriyama on his cell phone, with his text messages and stuff. I did see your newest video, Golden Scouters, so I thought that was cool. You and I don't always agree on our favorite arcs and everything like that, but I did watch it, so I am still subscribed, and occasionally I will see a video from you pop up, but obviously you got some other stuff going on that makes it hard for you to always make videos. A lot of people are busy these days. That's part of why I'm doing these live streams because I have a whole other career and stuff outside YouTube, in addition to really more than one career, I should say, because I'm also working on like my other creative ventures, which, just because I don't make any money on them yet doesn't mean it's not a career in and of itself, especially when you devote so much time to things. You could try to find an old animator or SFX designer or something. Yeah, I mean, there are things I could do in the future. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this channel quite just yet, but eventually I will start to do even more, and maybe I'll interview people. Maybe I'll just release chapters of my audiobook on here in the future. I don't quite know. I don't know if I want to make a dedicated channel for that. I would like people to see it if I make videos like that. There's a chance because it isn't related to Dragon Ball and some of the other stuff I typically talk about that it won't be seen on here, but we'll have to see. Yeah, that'd be cool, the non-canon Dragon Ball stuff. I'd check it out. And yeah, I watched Cinema Sins before I started doing YouTube. That was one of the channels I used to follow and I kind of enjoyed. Even like one of my first videos on here, I did like a rapid fire movie review, like which is very similar to Everything Wrong With. Um, but yeah, I don't really care for them anymore. They're one of those channels that you really kind of gets old in a sense, or you just don't really a lot of those issues start to stick out over time. So I think a lot of people felt the same way because their views have gone down significantly, and that happens for a lot of channels eventually. Another huge channel from before I started was Epic Mealtime, but their views really fell off too, and people kind of stopped watching them and being interested in their content. There's only so long you could do a certain type of content before people eventually move on, and it doesn't help with the algorithm when YouTube stops promoting certain things because either they don't see them as profitable anymore, or they just, prefer other flavors of the week, or, a bunch of other things that tend to happen with regard to YouTube, its promotion, and things I've gone in depth in the past. Like I said, I could spend 4 hours talking about all this stuff. When I do a YouTube short talking about, or just doing a paragraph from my book, I guess the problem is that like I write in a way to where like everything leads into the next, So like even if I posted like one chapter of my book, it would be kind of like okay, I guess, like if I did the first chapter and I just did that, would people find it as fascinating as if I upload like the first three chapters or the first quarter or the first half, something like that? I mean, I definitely separate into individual videos, but I feel like, at least with regard to the first one, the most interesting things don't really happen until like about a third to halfway through the book. It's kind of a slow build, which is how I often like stories. I like them to like introduce you to the world, to slowly build up to things. I mean, obviously pacing's important, So for me, one thing I said was in the past, I don't like One Piece's pacing, for example, because it takes so long for anything to happen. That's actually really that interesting to me. But like I've gotten through the first season, and it's just one of those series I'll never catch up on because I haven't really gotten hooked into it like I have with other series to where I can just keep watching an episode after an episode. And plus I have so much I have to catch up on that like 1,000-ish episodes, and I'm only like what 80 in right now, so there's so many series I could watch in that span of time, like multiple series. Even like the original Berserk is like what 24 to 28 episodes, and that is just it hooks me really early. Hunter x Hunter hooks me early. Yu Yu Hakusho does, even though the first 5 episodes, or really the first three, are kind of polarizing, and a lot of people aren't as interested. Um, Even the first arc, a lot of people aren't as interested in. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, even if I make videos saying I don't necessarily like things, I still try and give them as much of a chance as possible. But I only have so much time in this world, and if I don't love something after a certain period of time, a certain investment, hopefully people won't blame me too much for not dedicating so much of my time because, who knows? We could all be dead tomorrow. An asteroid could smash into the planet and poof, we're gone. Kind of like Planet Vegeta. Because that's totally what happened, right, Frieza? Liar. But yeah, I just, I don't know if I'll ever finish One Piece. And, I would like to if it really gets as good as people say, but thus far for me, it's kind of like Naruto, where I watched all of Naruto, at least without the filler, and I still wasn't really that engaged. There were certain things I thought were cool, like the first arc or two, and then I thought Orochimaru was an interesting villain. He kind of reminds me of Voldemort. But yeah, overall, it wasn't something that super hooked me in either. And yeah, I could definitely tell the pacing isn't the best in One Piece. Same thing with Naruto. Like people constantly say negative things about the pacing in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but like whereas people make jokes about Goku taking 10 episodes to throw a blast at somebody or use one move, in One Piece it literally took, or not One Piece, in Naruto, it literally took like 14 episodes for the Hokage to use that one technique on Orochimaru, and then it doesn't even work. So we literally sat there for 14 episodes constantly cutting back and forth to the same thing over and over again, and it literally amounted to nothing because it was just going to be undone very soon anyway. So that's something I also don't like when you spend a lot of time in trying to invest in something, and or like building up to something, and then it's ultimately like irrelevant or an anticlimax or something along those lines. Maybe a million episodes into Naruto Shippuden, they'll explain that actually that technique did do something, and it's actually has long-term lasting effects. But I don't know because I don't know if I'll ever finish Naruto either. I don't know if, I mean, I'll probably finish watching Bleach. I skipped most of the filler though when it was airing because I used to watch Bleach every single time it aired, actually in Japanese on Japanese TV. I watched it in English at first, but I honestly am not a fan of the Bleach dub. So for me overall, I just even when I was watching it originally, something just felt off to me about the direction. I don't have any issues with the performers. They have great voices and everything like that. Johnny Young Bosch did a great job in Trigun, one of my favorites of all time. And even Nighthouse said that English is really the real language for Trigun. But yeah, I just don't like that dub. It just feels like every delivery of every line is flat, and I just think the direction was really poor. So the Japanese is great though, but the writing for Bleach is what turned me off because read the manga up until the end of the Fullbring arc, and I hated the way that Wako Mundo ended, and really just the dragged out nature of it, especially reading it weekly. And the anime was even worse in that regard with the filler, and the fact that it ended with Fullbring, wasn't very satisfying. But I am going to watch the anime for the Thousand Year Blood War when it comes out. I haven't read the manga yet for aforementioned reasons, but nonetheless, I'm going to watch it, and you know, maybe I'll do a review. Why not? Like I've never done a real review of Bleach, and maybe I'll rewatch Bleach just to see how it holds up after not watching it for like what 10 years. Like when when did the series end? But yeah, it's definitely was one of my favorites at one point, and it would be interesting to watch the new season and see how that goes. And I heard that the ending is kind of rushed, which is weird considering how dragged out parts of the franchise have been. So that's going to be a little disappointing if that happens. But yeah. How would I rank the JoJo parts? So, in terms of how I would rank the JoJo parts, I would say that I actually am rewatching JoJo right now, and certain parts are a little bit better than others for me currently. My favorite arc of JoJo, I haven't finished rewatching it just yet, is probably part 5. Now, I could say maybe that's the best quality part I have seen in the anime thus far. Uh, my favorite probably is actually Stardust Crusaders, at least the final half of it, especially like the fight against Dio is such an awesome fight. And I never realized until I watched JoJo for the first time that, the fight between Goku and Hit is basically just a carbon copy of Jotaro in Stardust Crusaders versus Dio, which I just would say is definitely a better fight overall because of the teamwork and the different ways that Araki and very similarly Yoshihiro Togashi have these kind of puzzle piece fights, as I like to refer to them, where all the different components mesh together, and you really have to think throughout the course of the fight, and there's so much tension, and of course all the memes too. But yeah, so probably in terms of actual quality for me, it's part 5, part 3, part 4, 2, and then 1. In terms of part 6, I haven't finished the anime yet. I haven't actually watched the second core that came out. So I'm looking forward to watching that, but honestly, I just don't like the ending at all of part 6. It's actually one of those endings, much like the Future Trunks arc, that actually made me really angry when I read it, and is one of those endings that just totally ruined so much for me. I can't really say ruined it for me. It kind of just was a very dissatisfying conclusion that for me just really hurt the franchise in terms of how it wrapped up certain character resolutions. And, part 7, from what I've read so far, is great at least, but, just the ending of part 6 for me is really a big disappointment, and I'm not looking forward to that part in the animation. Maybe just seeing the adaptation, how it's done, because the adaptation seems really good so far. It's pretty 1-to-1, I think, but yeah, I don't like the ending of part 6 at all. It's basically the Future Trunks arc for me, but for JoJo. And even then, I wasn't a huge fan of part 6 because I don't really like the prison setting and how dragged out that is either. I don't really feel like the story need to be as long as it is. But that's kind of an issue I have with JoJo overall in terms of the structure that I'm noticing a lot more on the rewatch, where it's a little bit too episodic in a sense. There's way too many fights that are very loosely connected to the overall plot and story that's unfolding, and that just feel completely skippable for me. Some of them are still great, but there's a lot of parts that in the future when I go back and rewatch JoJo, I'm probably gonna skip over because aside from certain scenes, certain jokes, certain aspects of the fights, I don't really care that much for them, or I just don't really feel like they're super compelling and something that I'm gonna keep watching. Every single time. It's kind of like certain episodes of Dragon Ball Z, or even Dragon Ball. Like, I'll skip around if I'm not doing just like a straight up 100% completionist rewatch, just because I don't really find them all that entertaining or worth watching. But yeah, maybe I'll just totally read the One Piece manga in the future. Yeah, I haven't read JoJo Lion yet. I'm going to when I'm done with part 7. I know that Araki is going to come out with a final part after JoJo Lion. I've heard in some ways that JoJo Lion might help to correct certain things, if you want to put it that way, that happened in part 6, especially with regard to the ending, but I don't know. I went in blind with JoJo. I didn't really know anything about it going in, aside from there was a lot of memes and somebody named Dio. And, I saw maybe a GIF or two, or a GIF, depending upon how you want to pronounce that, of the fight between Star Platinum and the World, but that's about it. Either way, I definitely think it's worth watching. It's one of my favorite anime. Um, not necessarily for me at the level of like Hunter x Hunter or Yu Yu Hakusho, but it is still really good and great at times, especially part five for me. There's just so many great moments and parts, and a lot of it could come down to the execution. The ending of part five, again, isn't a huge one I'm a fan of, particularly when we get into like Silver Chariot Requiem and just everything that kind of unfolds there. You know, the other Requiem that we get at the end is really cool, and a really messed up power when you really think about it, and what it does to the character that gets hit with it, I guess you could say. I also love one of the things that JoJo does where they change the OP, where, it actually reflects what's happening as the series is progressing. So there's a lot of those little things I love about JoJo in terms of the anime and the way that it's been presented. But yeah, I'll definitely read JoJo Lion at some point. Is that the one with the JoJo that looks like a sailor? You can watch the entire Italian neo-realistic canon. Wow. Yeah, I mean, if you view it as a waste, I wouldn't know because I haven't seen all of it. Hey, Geek Recon, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate it. Longtime fan, I really missed your videos, man. I wish you a ton of success in your return to YouTube or in any of your projects. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that in the super chat. Um, I'm glad that you're still watching my channel. I think I recall reading some of your comments in the past, actually, although off the top of my head, unfortunately, I can't remember everything that you said. Yes, I am still friends with Black and Fist. I haven't talked to him in like 6 months because it is Juan, but I don't know if you guys ever saw that video I did with the Mr. Owl. How long does it take for Black and Fist to upload? Well, let's find out. A one, a two, a three, a four, a five, a six. A six. How long does it take for Black and Fist to upload? The world may never know. Although that was actually Aquaman who did that final narration voice at the end. I did the others. But yeah, I haven't talked to him in a little while, but he and I are still friends every now and then. Why should I say every now and then? That doesn't make any sense at all, Mike. What are you talking about right now? I think that jet lag's definitely catching up with me. When will I do another video with Geekdom? I don't know, I guess whenever he wants to do a video with me. I actually told him before I left that I would still do videos with him if he ever wanted to. It just hasn't happened. Um, I guess he's really busy these days. I mean, I'm not really focusing on just doing straight up videos anymore like I used to anyway. Uh, it's definitely a big um, it's definitely a big dedication and commitment to making some of the videos I used to, that just putting all the time and effort into videos, like weeks for some videos, a month for some videos, because how long, like it took me 2 weeks, I think, to make the Gotenks video, the How Strong is Gotenks in Dragon Ball Z, and I was like making videos constantly. Or, I was working on it constantly, rather. There was a time when I forced myself to make like 5 videos a week. I don't know how I even did that because I guess I was a younger man at the time, to quote Bane. I upload like a younger man. But yeah, I'm probably going to go for a little bit longer and then I'm going to wrap it up today. It has been a very long day for me. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this stream so far, connection issues and all. So make sure again some of those questions now before I go. That way I can answer them and then probably going to sleep. Are there any fictional preferences or premises that just turn you off of a product? Hmm. Not quite sure what you mean by fictional premises that would turn me off. I mean, there are certain things I don't really like that I see, like maybe this is controversial to say. I mean, I don't know why, but I don't really like some of the strange. I don't even know if I could say this, but some of the things that happen in the Rise of Shield Hero, for example, when those big things that happens in there, that's kind of like a fetishization of certain demographics. Let's just put it that way. That really turned me off of that series and a lot of other anime where they promote things that are a little weird. Hunter x Hunter actually has a scene like that too in the Chimera Ant arc to give you more reference to what I'm referring to right now. So that stuff turns me off really, really a lot from certain series. Uh, Maybe you're referring to like a trope, for example. I mean, I'm one of those people who actually loves the time travel trope. So that is, something that I'm not turned off by. But there are certain things I don't really like. I'm not a huge prison person, so I haven't watched Prison Break. I did really like Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, but like that was one of the things that kind of wasn't making me a huge fan of Part Six of JoJo, for example. Um, Maybe it's something that will make me not really like Baki that much, but I'll try and watch it. Dead Man Wonderland, I wasn't huge into that. Uh, I can't really think off the top of my head of like a real premise that makes it where I don't like it anymore. But it's case by case for me. I try and give things a chance, even if a lot of times I know going in I'm probably not gonna like it, but I still try and prep myself to at least, go in with zero expectations to do so. Yeah, I was really sad when I heard that Kazuki Takahashi, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, died. Especially the way that it happened. It reminds me a little bit of Shad Gaspar from professional wrestling. How he died, and it's just really sad that he's just out swimming or snorkeling or whatever, and just gets taken away by the tide, and now he's gone. And if he ever wanted to do anything in the future, unless he wrote it down or something, it's never going to happen. And obviously there's way more important things than that. Somebody lost their husband and father and everything, and it's a really sad turn of events. I've always been a huge Yu-Gi-Oh fan. I still collect the cards from time to time. I've seen the anime many times, so it's definitely sad. And Miura, I'm terrible with these names. When he passed away, that was really sad too. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The older you get, the more of these people you love and respect kind of start to pass away, and that not only applies to people in fiction, but in your real life too. And that's certainly something that's happened for me in my real life too. I've only read like a couple chapters here and there of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga. Again, like I wish I could read more manga, but aside from like buying them, and then just kind of figuring out if I like them after I've already bought them, it's not the easiest for me to do just because I get migraines. When you look at the art of Hiroaki Samura and Miura at an earlier age, you maintain decent standards. Yeah, uh, Toriyama is his art was really great too back in the day up until really around the Cell Saga. Like there's still some good art from time to time in the Cell Saga, like some great looking scenes, but his art kind of isn't as good from that point onward, I feel like. And I don't really like his shift in style either. Like taking the characters from being like the muscular, like, type that they had with the, the big muscles and the gains and everything like that, and becoming scrawny, especially with the Super Saiyan God and, the Super Blooper Saiyan and the other things along the way. But yeah, Toriyama had great art. And the fact that he was putting out a chapter every single week, I don't understand how you can do that. That's the thing you gotta give credit to him and other mangaka for. That they literally wrote and would create an entire chapter every single week. I couldn't do that. I couldn't draw anywhere near as good as any of them either. That's why a lot of times I'd have like artists, come and make thumbnails for me because I wish I could draw my own thumbnails and have them look great. I wish I could do all the concept art for my series. I can make my own animation. There's so much stuff I wish I had the talent to do, but I'm not talented in everything. Just some things. You know, if I can admit to being talented about things, I don't know if that sounds arrogant. Yeah, there were some great Toriyama covers later in life. Am I still friends with Xeon? I haven't talked to Xeon in a long time. Some people I just haven't talked to in a very long time. But, people fall away from each other. That's kind of how it is. Yeah, I do really like Avatar: The Last Airbender and the DC animated universe in that style. That's one of the things I came to dislike, or at least I don't really like as much about the current DC crop of films and stuff like that. That they actually started to emulate they actually started to they actually started to emulate anime a lot when they already had a great iconic looking style with the Timverse and based on in part the old school Superman cartoons and the serials, but they started to make it more like anime. They started following some of the negative best practices, if you want to call them that, from anime, where they started to cheap out in certain regards, like the new Young Justice season, or season three at least. That was the newest one for me that I've seen thus far. I wasn't really a huge fan of the animation style and everything there, and just felt like it was a lot either cheaper or just wasn't quite as good. Whereas before it always looked great. But yeah, look, I'm going to give it just a few more minutes. I know I already said that. And then I'm going to wrap this up. So, any other questions, please just put them through right now. And then I will try and answer them. And then I'm going to get going. And once again, I really appreciate everyone who showed up today. I know this is kind of like a random fun stream that I'm doing here live from Las Vegas. I wish I could have shown you some more of Las Vegas, but you know, the internet was bad enough on the computer. I can only imagine how terrible it would have been me trying to use it on my phone. And it would have been cool to go through the casino and stuff though, and show you guys just how it looks. Yeah, I don't like the Cal art style at all. Certainly when I tried to give a chance, but yeah, I don't like that style. And I'm not a fan of Teen Titans Go in the least. I tried, I really did. I wish that they just brought back the real Teen Titans. You know, even with regard to Young Justice to a degree, um, I always preferred the original Teen Titans. And probably in part because Young Justice is like New 52 inspired, and I wasn't a big New 52 person. But yeah, do I think AEW is better than WWE? I barely watch wrestling now. I watched AEW a lot when it first started, and I just stopped caring and fell out from it. There's a lot of things about AEW and the wrestling style they use that I'm not really that interested, or I don't really like as much. You know, like the million finishers per match, which they even do in NXT and WWE these days. And I tend to, I don't know, I tend to agree with Jim Cornette about a number of different things that he's said in the past. But at the same time, I don't know if I agree with him on everything. Do you think the MCU will end anytime soon? No, I the thing is that the MCU still has so many great stories they can tell, and people are just like burnt out right now. I feel like mostly because the fact that it doesn't have that same overarching story they were telling with Thanos before, which was just better overall. There obviously were issues and things along the way, and I talked about a lot of this in my last stream with Josh, but like I've been rewatching some of the movies here at the hotel, and I still like a lot of those movies leading up. Even like I was watching Ant-Man 2 earlier, and I got to see all those costumes and stuff in person earlier too. And I was watching that movie, and I still really like that movie. I don't think it's great. Like I don't think that it has the most compelling villains, or that the in-universe mechanics make a lot of sense when you actually think about them and stuff like that. Like there's definitely issues I talked about in my review a while back, but I still like it. I really like Thor Ragnarok, even though there are some things, but that's everything. And even Terminator 2, my favorite movie of all time, I could tell you things I don't like about it, but that's just part of appreciating art in a sense, that you need to kind of look at it the full picture, and you need to see like the good and the bad, because if you always just ignore the bad, you always ignore the cons, then you're ignoring an aspect of these things, and that applies to basically everything. Do you want false positivity? Do you want just everyone to tell you just happy la la land thoughts all the time, or do you want the truth? A lot of people don't like the truth. They can't handle the truth, but I prefer the truth, which a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy when I say, at least the truth according to how I believe it. At least the truth about my own opinions. But hey, everyone has their own, and you don't have to agree with me or like everything I say. I never said you did, and that's your decision at the end of the day. I don't think I've ever seen or heard of the Birdman with a three for any. I don't quite know what they do. There's a lot of, I mean, there's so many YouTubers, like, most of them probably have never heard of me, right? Like, there are people I followed for years and would even comment on their videos all the time. They have no idea who I am, like Angry Joe. Like, I was always a big Angry Joe fan. I followed him on Twitch and or not Instagram, on YouTube, and I comment on videos and stuff, but he never seemed to know who I was, even though he was a huge Dragon Ball fan. And there's a lot of stuff like that, like some YouTubers randomly banned me too from their channels, and I don't even understand why. Like Cinemassacre. Like I'm a big fan of James Rolfe, and I said all positive things about him. I've never made a negative comment on his channel, but then I randomly was banned, where none of my comments started showing up. I remember I left a really nice review for him on one of his videos where I was like, I love your content, I love how in depth you go with it, and I love your one-on-one content where you're doing these movie reviews and stuff. And it just, for whatever reason, I was banned from that channel. Maybe they just, his people who work on the channel now didn't really like some of my opinions on things, but I can't tell you why I was banned. I've been banned on other channels too, just randomly. I don't think Chris Stuckman banned me. But maybe after my comments last GT video, he will. I mean, I've always been positive about him as a person, though, and I'm definitely a fan of his too. He did in a lot of ways something that I've wanted to do, which is not only be a YouTuber but also achieve things outside of YouTube in my own way. So the fact that he's making a movie, that's really cool. Time tells whether or not I'm gonna like it. I will give an honest review of it when I see it. I'm just gonna let him know in advance if for some reason he watches my video. But yeah, I think I would owe it to him and every other person I know to give them an honest review, because I want to make sure that they can do the best that they possibly can, and at least the way I see it. Thoughts on Vince no longer working for WWE? I mean, Vince is a very legendary figure in wrestling, and one of the, a great mind in a sense, at least when he had better people controlling and filtering him. Uh, but yeah, I think wrestling or WWE's already better under Triple H. Did you like the newest Death Battle? I haven't seen Death Battle in years. I'm not really a fan, to be honest. I'm not a huge like versus person anyway. Like, I kind of agree with Stan Lee in a sense, where he said that, at the end of the day, you could just write any character to beat anyone else, and you could just come up with all these contrived reasoning and rationales behind who can win against who. Batman's my favorite superhero, if you want to call him a superhero. And the thing is that, a lot of the ways he beats people, you can argue, are really contrived too. So at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, for me, who would win in a versus fight? Like, it's something I used to have fun thinking about and even talking about in videos, but I just don't really care. I just like the stories and the characters and stuff like that. I don't care if Goku can kill JoJo and everyone in the universe with one blast. I don't care if Ichigo can kill everyone in Naruto or whatever. It doesn't really matter to me as long as the story is interesting. I could watch an anime about people tying knots and having to be the best knot tire ever. I don't really care. What's my dream girl? Well, maybe I've already met her, but who knows? Yeah, I've never heard of Some Call Me Johnny, but I have watched AVGN. I've seen all of the Angry Video Game Nerd up until, like, I don't know, last year or the year before. Yeah, I did see a lot of that stuff about Screenwave and stuff behind the scenes with those like mini documentaries and stuff about Cinemassacre, and I never commented on any of that, but whatever, I'm already banned. A lot of that does not rub me the right way. But yeah, I mean, I talked about why I came back to YouTube and everything. But with that being said, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys showing up. I appreciate the super chat earlier from Geek Week and Z. And Johnny is friends with Geekdom. I don't quite know who he is. So maybe he has cool content. Honestly, don't know. I guess I could check it out later. But again, thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for coming out. I am going to wrap this up for now. So maybe Josh and I are going to stream again on Sunday. I guess we'll find out. Maybe I'll upload something before then. We'll have to see. But with all that being said, thank you all. Make sure to stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future, or whichever way I like to wrap things up. See you later.